I was living my life the other day, and for no reason I felt compelled to watch Ice Age, a film I haven't seen in 15 years. As a kid, I remember it being one of the best animated films, and it turns out kid me was 100% correct. It's an absolutely amazing film. I think its memory has been somewhat tainted by the mass production of mediocre to outwardly bad cash grab sequels, but the original, it's a stone cold masterpiece. We kick off with 3 minutes of Scrat. No dialogue, no explanation, just 3 minutes of Scrat being the absolute loose unit he is. My favorite moment of which is when he's running from this moving glacier and then another identical moving glacier comes out of nowhere. It's so absurd, but it effectively sets up this character and their narrative for the rest of the film. A narrative I will not talk about again. And this is when I realized that the film is just filled with bits. Like, it's stuffed to the brim with jokes.
Where's Eddie?
He said something about being on the verge of an evolutionary breakthrough.
Really?
I'm flying!
Some breakthrough.
So this is when our protagonist stomps onto screen. Manny, or Manfred for long. And uh-oh, this guy's going the wrong way. Why? Because he's a lone wolf. He doesn't need anybody. And also because he's got issues, okay? And everybody can see that he's got issues.
Move your issues off the road!
Here's the thing though. He projects that he wants to be alone, but it's performative. Why does he have to be walking down the center of the road, bashing people out of the way? Couldn't he just be walking next to the road? No, because he wants people to notice him. Manny is hurt and is isolating himself to prevent from more pain. But he wants people to reach out. He wants people to comfort him. He doesn't really want to be alone. And it's moments like this which seem kind of obvious on the surface. Oh, the protagonist wants to be alone. But actually have a ton of depth to them. And it's what makes the film so exceptional. Next we have Sid, the best character in the film by far. And while Manny and him are opposites in some ways, they have a lot of similarities. He is also alone, but not by his own choice. He's been abandoned by his family, something which is apparently a common occurrence.
They left without me. They do this every year.
And while Sid is reasonably hurt by this, he pulls himself up by his furry bootstraps, knowing he is capable of adventuring through the world by himself and staying alive, because Sid is a classic D-child survivor. Anyway, Sid is yapping his way to heaven's door when he puts his shit-covered feet into these rhinos' salad, and they say they'll kill him.
Who says we're gonna eat him after we kill him?
And this threat to kill is legit. The film is littered with references to killing, death, extinction. It's unironically the film's biggest theme. This is also where we see Sid being a fast talker, which is the best. He realizes he's made a mistake, but does he change his ways? No, he doubles down and tries to talk his way out of it.
Good eating, but don't let me hide them all up. Oh no, here, you have some. Tasty, isn't it?
So Sid runs away and bumps into Manny, begging for help, which he does because
I don't like animals that kill for pleasure.
we have this cool fight sequence and the dynamic duo are together. And both of these characters fulfill the other's need. Manny keeps Sid alive,
You just want a bodyguard so you don't become somebody's side dish.
and Sid fulfills Manny's need for companionship. Although he rejects Sid at first and is honestly pretty rude about it.
Stop following me.
The next little bit is just classic them getting to know each other, the most notable part of which is when Sid says a remark about Manny needing to connect with people, and it clearly touches a soft spot.
So what about you? You have family?
On top of this though, we see a continuation of a decision which Ice Age establishes really early on, which is they humanize the characters, as in they act more like humans than they do animals. In this scene, we see them literally making shelter, and Sid talks about making fire.
With my little stick in my highly evolved brain, I shall create fire.
This is pretty common in animated films about animals to give them more human abilities, but it's an excellent choice because the film isn't really about animals, it's about people who happen to be animals, making it a story we can relate with and connect to because it's a human story. Talking about bloody humans, the film depicts them with much less complexity than animals. Sure, they act and look like humans, but the depth of emotion and understanding is definitely more apparent for the animals. Also, the animators make the best decision they could have, which is the humans don't talk. There's no conversation of, gee willikers, look at our cute child. And when they attack, there's no shouts of, grab the spears, or we're being attacked. And the film even recognizes from the animal's perspective, humans can't talk.
Save your breath, Sid. You know humans can't talk.
This makes the humans always seem like outsiders and makes us really align with the animal protagonists. This is also when the third member of the trio is introduced, Diego, along with the villain of the piece, Soto, evil tiger. This tiger is so evil, he wants to eat a baby.
I want that baby, Diego!
But he only wants to do that because the humans killed a bunch of them, making this baby-killing villain a complex character. Anyway, we see Diego go for the kid as instructed, the mum yeets herself off the cliff to save the child, Manny and Sid take the child, and we witness the saddest moment of the film.
She's gone.
And 20 minutes into the film, the trio are finally together. After some hemming and hawing, about 5 minutes of justification, the gang all decide that they're going to take the baby back to the humans together, but they all have different motivations. Sid is doing it because he's a good guy, Manny is doing it because it'll help him get rid of Sid, and Diego is doing it because Soto really wants that baby.
I want that baby, Diego!
Along with different motivations, each character has distinct relationships with the others.
Here's your little bundle of joy. We're returning it to the humans.
Oh, the big bad Tiggy Waggy gets left behind. Poor Tiggy Waggy.
Sid, Tiggy Wiggy's gonna lead the way.
You won't always have Jumbo around to protect you. And when that day comes, I suggest you watch your back, 'cause I'll be chewing on it.
And there's a lot more established than just these examples, but it makes the group work really, really well together because each character has agency, interiority, and chemistry. And as an audience, we know what each character wants and what each character thinks of the others. And we get to see these characters and their relationships develop. And the fact that this film, as short as it is, has distinct and noticeable character and relationship arcs is incredible. And these developments are the real journey of the film. But as far as the plot goes, it's three mismatched characters taking the baby to the place, with the audience knowing that at any time, the evil tiger might betray Sid and Manny and snatch the baby. And this is where making the baby a human and not an animal is so brilliant, because we really empathize with the plight of the journey. Even if the characters don't fully understand the weight of their actions, we recognize the emotional importance of what they are doing, and we want them to succeed, because of course we want them to return the baby to its family. This leads into the first montage of the party walking, and these shots are beautiful. They are incredibly drawn pictures with the three just walking in a line, and it looks great. And people rag on the animation, and sure, the human animation isn't great, but I don't think it's overall that bad. In fact, the movie does an amazing job of using animation to create visual bits, which massively amplify the film. Like this bit where Sid moves his body, then his neck. It's simple, yet it's funny. And honestly, I think Ice Age does a better job of using animation to improve the script than the vast majority of animated films. And the fact that people think this film is poorly animated because it doesn't look amazing, I think is an unfair assertion to make. But then we arguably get the best scene in the entire film. The Dodo Scene. This entire scene is pure bits, like bit after bit after bit. For whatever reason, the Dodos function militaristically and are incredibly, seemingly, well organized. And their reasoning for this is preparation for the Ice Age.
Prepare for the Ice Age!
Which brings us to the fact that all the animals in the film seem to have a meta understanding of not just the geological phenomenon they're living through.
I'm just saying, how do we know it's an Ice Age?
Because of all the ice!
But also many aspects of science. From the evolution joke I showed earlier to Sid referring to himself as a highly developed species and therefore capable of making fire. This is in large part so the writers can make jokes about this sort of stuff, but it also goes to reinforce the fact that these animals are much more highly evolved forms of the animals that we know. Anyway, the dodo scene. So we all know dodos went extinct. That's like a classic go-to extinct animal. But did you know they went extinct in 1662? I only found this out when I was researching it for this video. I thought there was some old-timey Jurassic era bird, but it turns out they were largely blipped off the planet because of Dutch colonization. So that's a bunch of information I read off Wikipedia. Facts I learned from this film though is that the dodo bird went extinct because they're a bunch of silly klutzes. And this scene is really the flag bearer for the film's main motif, death. We witness dodos dying left, right, and center. It's a classic scene, and it's pure jokes.
Taekwondo-dos, attack!
But my favorite thing this scene does is set up the subtle character beat for Sid. So Sid's not really portrayed as being good at much. He's a decent talker, but he's not the most competent guy. Except for the fact that Sid is a sports star. And I don't mean athletic like Diego doing good jumps. I mean modern day sports star. We've already seen him limbo, but this is where he becomes an American football superstar, blasting past a wave of defenders, armbarring fools and breaking tackles like it's nothing. His touchdown celebration is also on point, and I love the way the dodos console each other like they just lost the big game. The scene also ends with this feather transition, which is like one of 4 transitions like this that they use throughout the film, and it's kind of fun. I can't remember a film that has a fun, unique scene transition effect like this, but I think it works. Moving on, we see Diego try to steal the baby. He also gets told by Jack Black that if he doesn't get the baby, then he's out of Tiger Squad.
Yeah. He said, come back with the baby, or don't come back at all!
Which is a rough ultimatum for Diego and really ups the stakes. But most notably in this scene, Diego declares that he's bringing Manny back to the rest of the cat pack to get gacked.
And tell him I'm bringing a mammoth.
A mammoth?
Which is a whole new level of threat. And once again, Ice Age is dead set on trying to get you to believe that one of the main characters will die. Next, we have a classic unnecessary scene where female animals are portrayed with makeup and bodacious bosom aplomb because how else would we know they're lady animals? There are also these rhinos again, and they're still trying to kill Sid because Ice Age's main theme is death, and Diego helps Sid out by pretending he's already dead. Bonding. Meanwhile, Manny's having a little heart-to-heart with the baby, and we see him starting to open his soul again to the possibility of loving another living being, the thing he's been craving for years. Cue montage number 2 of them walking. This time it's not nice pictures though, it's visual gags. This is also where Sid, sports star extraordinaire, shows off his niftiness on the ice. Rolling us onto another contender for best sequence in the film, the shortcut. So this begins with a beautiful dialogue-free section of Sid walking through a museum with a few gags included, because obviously. After this, we get the slide scene. Oh boy, the slide scene. There's not much to say about this scene. When I was a kid, it was my favorite part of the film. It's just so fun. So fun that even Diego loves it.
Whoa! Woo! Yeah! Who's up for round 2?
After this, the squad continue their cliche tourist activities by going to an art gallery. Sid is fully aware of Sloth's place in history.
You know, you never see any sloths in these things. Have you ever noticed?
And we get to see Manny's backstory. He did have a family, but they were killed by humans. I mean, this is great. It's sad, it's deep, it's touching. We have a recluse who's closed off because of his past trauma and tragedy, and yet he's still bringing the baby back to the humans even though they took away his partner and baby from him. Because he knows if he doesn't return this baby, then the human father is going to become a shell of a being just like him, and that's a fate he doesn't want for anyone. Meaning bringing the baby back is gifting somebody else the life he was robbed of. And oh, it's beautiful. The pathos is oozing. And the film doesn't need to be this heavy. And yet it is. Why? Well, because the main character is a mammoth. And mammoths are heavy. This emotionality really hits when we cut back to the humans and we see the human father basically giving up on trying to get his son back. Sad. But I want to know, these dudes have just been walking through the snow with no supplies, like none. Earlier in the film, we see that they just left absolutely all of their stuff abandoned. And I get they ran off quickly after the tigers, but does that really mean you just run into a blizzard with no supplies? And surely that stuff is super valuable and useful, and they're going to a different settlement, so they're not coming back until winter. No, they just hoofed off into a blizzard with no supplies, not even one tent. And this has always really annoyed me. I mean, at least have two guys grab the stuff and catch up with you. And I get that you were just attacked by a bunch of tigers, but isn't that even more reason to hold on to the stuff you do have instead of just unloading your entire inventory except for this one necklace and a bunch of spears? And they're supposedly tracking the baby using that necklace, but they're not doing a very good job of it. The baby's literally following them, and not once have the wolves gone, oh, actually, it's behind us. Anyway, beautiful film, absolutely love it, 10 out of 10, no complaints. We cut back to more of the trio walking, and we see Manny seemingly sacrifice his life for Diego. Once again, Ice Age really wants you to believe that one of the main characters might die. But Diego is touched by this, and his fondness and bond to Sid and Manny grows, because no one's ever stuck up for him like this. He's never had a real friend.
Why did you do that? You could have died trying to save me.
That's what you do in a herd. You look out for each other.
To be honest, most of his friends are a bunch of baby-killing dicks. At this point, after a crisp 25 minutes together, the synergy and the friendships are really growing. Sid also continues to be a higher evolved being as he does some art to correct for sloth erasure, then creates fire. Go Sid, go. So due to growing friendship, Diego's really starting to have second thoughts about sending Manny, the baby, and Sid to be killed by a bunch of his tiger bros.
Maybe we shouldn't do this.
He confesses to the group, they're rightly upset, then they decide to work together because they don't have another choice, using the greatest asset they have available to them. Sid Sports Megastar. Has Sid ever skied before? Who knows? I mean, has anyone ever skied before? It doesn't matter, because Sid is a god. Sid doesn't just know how to ski, he's doing tricks and shit, taunting these tigers like he's Spider-Man.
Eat my powder!
And let's remember, these tigers are straight up trying to kill him in a horrific and painful way, and Sid is such an ultra jock that he's stunting on them. And do you think he's concerned when he loses a ski and has to snowboard? No. Dude gets his balance, then instantly starts doing radical aerials just for the hell of it. Sid, sports legend. After Sid, the Giga Chad, lures these tigers where he wants them, Manny blaps them with a big stick, and Sid stuffs a tiger into a rock, and I want to point out that he knows Jack Black is behind him because the baby does this maneuver, which has become a sign to indicate tiger, which we've seen throughout the film. A sign which is created because when the kid is hungry, Diego does peekaboo. This could have just been a small gag. Diego being incredibly scary when trying to get a baby to stop crying is funny, and it does a lot to characterize his lack of emotional intelligence. But instead it becomes a through line culminating with it being used so Sid can defeat a tiger. Even though he's alone, his relationship with Diego has allowed him to smush Jack Black into a hole, where he'll stay until he dies. And this is why the Ice Age writing is so good, because these small moments could stand in isolation, but instead they're always part of a greater arc. After this, it comes down to Manny versus Soto and Diego, but instead of betraying Manny, Diego defends him and tells Soto to leave.
What are you doing?
Leave the mammoth alone.
More friendship. More tussling occurs, and eventually Diego sacrifices himself to protect Manny. Manny gets mad irked, throwing Soto into a wall, which causes icicles to fall and kill him. Brutal. The others run off because, you know, Manny just killed their fucking leader. But this isn't without casualties. Diego is fucked up, and it doesn't look like he's gonna make it.
We were some team, huh?
Were? Come on, we're still a team.
This is when the film finally fulfills the threat, nay, the promise it's been making the whole time. it will kill off one of its main characters. And it's not Sid who's been threatened constantly, or Manning who had a coup d'etat planned against him. No, it's Diego. And honestly, it's really unexpected. But that's bold writing. That's bold decision making. And in a kid's film, I mean, it's devastating. One tiger down, the two original compadres then make their way to the humans to give the baby back, who are just about to leave for their settlement. And honestly, this is so drawn out and needlessly tense. There's this whole throwing the spear away thing. Manny slowly going to grab the baby. All the while, the threat of the other humans in tow with their wolves and spears and nothing else because they have no supplies. Sorry. Anyway, there's the threat they might attack, but then it's revealed it's all chill because Manny has the baby. Why didn't Manny just pull up holding the baby or pull it out earlier or one of a million other options? I don't know. Whatever, the dad reunites with his son, it's very cute and all our hearts are filled with warmth. Unlike these dudes who are wearing cloth tunics, have no supplies, and are defo going to die. We get one last cathartic goodbye where Manny and Sid give the kid a final hug, the human gives Manny the necklace as a memento, it's all very sweet. And then, peekaboo. What's this? Guess who comes crawling back from the dead? Diego. Do you think they'd really kill off one of their three main characters and their chance for sequels? No, of course not. Plus, it's a kid's film. There's no need to be that cruel. So the gang's together and they're friends and it's great. I love it. But before we end, we have one last scene of Scrat, 20,000 years in the future, denoting his status as an immortal being. And we see him doing the same crack the ground thing he does at the beginning, but this time on an island. A classic bookend. And that's Ice Age, a masterpiece, genuinely one of the best animated films ever made. And that's the video. Genuinely one of the best videos ever made? Probably, yeah. Anyway, like the video if you did like it, subscribe to the channel, and comment with intense affirmation. And I'll see you in the next one where I'll similarly break down Ice Age 2. Maybe. We'll see. Anyway, bye.